Gemini 3 has been out for 2 weeks, making a huge amount of noise, but just how good is it? Well, we bring on Logan Kilpatrick, the PM for Google AI Studio, to blow your mind. Watch Gemini 3 completely replicate one of Google's big products with a single prompt. We go back and forth in some of the best ways that we're using Gemini 3 and some incredible data visualization ones that I have already been using in my day-to-day work. I have been blowing people's minds with some of the things that Logan has showed me, and you have to stay tuned to the end for the Nano Banana Pro use case that I know you will use every day and really does showcase how incredible of an image model that is. This has probably been one of my favorite episodes that I've ever done. It just sparked so many ideas of how we can be using the latest model from Google, Gemini 3. And if you want to get all of those ideas for free, then stay tuned for Marketing Against the Grain with Logan Kilpatrick. Enjoy the episode. Logan, thank you so much for coming back on the show. I will say, even though we were fans of Gemini and I used Gemini, I will be really honest. I think it was third in my stack rank of the kind of assistants I used. That's the way my kind of usage gravitated. The recent launches have been a total paradigm shift for me. I think Gemini 3 is my default model. It's just Nano Banana was really good. Nano Banana Pro is next level. I think it's the best image model. I think it's a huge feat that you have all achieved. And for someone like me who is in the weeds working with AI, it's really exciting to see this kind of leap in terms of functionality. So I think for our listeners and watchers on this show, we're going to go through some Gemini 3 use cases. If you're not using that model, you should be. We're going to show you why. But I would love to kick it over to you and say, what are some of the ways that you're using Gemini 3 or you've seen folks use Gemini 3, and kind of anything you can show us live in terms of the capabilities of that model would be amazing.
So we're sort of early stages in making this happen, but inside of AI Studio, we have this new build tab on the left-hand side, which allows you to go in and vibe code a bunch of stuff, which is exciting. So we tried to capture some amount of breadth of the use cases that we've seen be really successful with 3 Pro. One of them, obviously, everyone's building landing pages. It's pretty basic, but you can get some really, really cool and impressive stuff. Another one is sort of combining the code generation capability with Nano Banana Pro, which we'll look at later on. A fun one is games. Gaming is the largest media category in the entire world. And as the cost to build even simple games goes down, I do think it actually unlocks some really interesting opportunities that were priced out of the market historically because of how expensive it would have been to build a game. So I think there's something there. And that's what's really been capturing my imagination as far as what the world will look like in the future as anyone can build games. So that's a good one. And then there's just these sort of interesting capabilities of the model, like SVG generation and voxel art, which I think are, not super widely applicable, but I think can speak to the creativity of this model. And then my last favorite example is, I don't know if folks have seen this ball bouncing example, but it's historically had been one the canonical examples of our model's good enough at doing code. You'd ask the model to drop a ball in a sort of rotating pentagon or square and see if it worked. So I took that example and asked the model to make it 20 times more complicated. And in a single shot, it was able to do that. And I think this is this example of we all as users of AI have been trained to don't ask for too much, say it in this way, try to make it very finite so that the model can easily do this. And I think 3 Pro was the first model where I was having to remind myself to be more ambitious. And I think that was my default state. But as I sort of have spent so much time using these models, I've pared down what I've been asking for slowly over time. I'll say this 10 times through this conversation, but I think you need to continue to be more ambitious with what you're asking the model to do. So that's my sort of high level comment. I'll make one more comment, which is as far as the way that I've been using this new functionality the most in Gemini 3 the most is actually this product exploration. So I'll do this example live and we'll see how good we can make it. But I'm going to go create my first app. And this is something that our product team and actually teams across Google Search, YouTube, et cetera, are doing this a ton. What they're doing is they're actually using AI Studio to build the prototype of the next generation of their product. So I don't know if folks know Flow, which is this AI video editing tool that Google has.
This is what I'm using to build a sitcom.
Their team's incredible too. And VO, Nano Banana, all that stuff brings that product to life. And they've built the sort of next generation of that product completely in AI Studio in the build mode. And there's other teams across Google that are doing this. So I took a screenshot of this existing UI, and I don't know if you have suggestions of like things that we can do to improve this, but usually I'd be like, hey, I have some idea for a feature that I really want, clone this UI, and then like add these other features. I'll make this a really simple one, which is clone this UI, and then add 5 really interesting new AI features to it.
That's what I've been messing about with, is just give it an app and tell it to remix it with 5 additional valuable features. And Gemini 3 is like kind of one of the first models, or maybe not the first, but it does it consistently, where it's really surprising what it does. Models for a long time, they kind of just did I wouldn't say the average, but they did the best practice, if that makes sense. They did the thing you expected they probably would do. Whereas Gemini 3, and I have this fun thing I'm doing with it, is like I have it working on a strategic problem for me. And I say to it, like, think outside of the box. And then I say, go 10 foot further from the box, go 10 foot further from the box. And I tell it not to be anchored by what its training said. And like, only give me brand new ideas that are so outside the box, people would be shocked if you told them. And it gave me 2 ideas. I was like, I would never have come up with them myself. Never.
Yeah. This is the magic. And this is the way that I've been the perpetual sort of like prompt that I'm using these days, is like whatever I want to do. And then I just say like, add 5 more features. I need to start saying like out of the box features, or like sort of giving some qualifying terms. Because sometimes if you don't push it in a direction, it'll sort of come up with a bunch of like basic ideas, which are not always helpful. But I'm like 25% success rate right now with this, give me 5 really interesting new AI features. And it just like continually comes up with really good ones. So it's building this app right now, and we'll hopefully be able to see sort of the start screen for AI Studio cloned as it was before, almost exactly, and then reimagined with these 5 next features. And again, I think like, for folks who are in the marketing world, like there's something interesting about like, what's the analogy of this in your specific role?
I think what's incredible as well about Gemini 3 is its ability to like one-shot things. And so just for our listeners, when we say one-shot thing, you ask it to do something and it literally does it in one shot. Like you don't actually have to ask it to make edits or anything like that. So let me just see if I can show you this.
Supposedly what you're describing is 0 shot. I agree with you. It should be 1 shot, because it doesn't make any sense. So all the nerds who are trying to nerd snipe me anytime I say single shot or 1 shot, like,
okay, well, it did this in 0 shots.
Because if it was 1 shot, supposedly you would have had to provided like a complete example of this. Like basically this was the example you gave it, and then you asked it to like remake this example or something like that. That would be 1 shot.
Well, basically it did this in one go. And the concept here is, well, if code is cheap and we were having problems as marketers and keeping people's engagement, then you could turn every landing page into an interactive game. And so here is like a brand who they've created this ebook on like deep work. How do you focus? I think that's kind of appropriate, because one of the not downsides of AI is like for someone like me who likes to do a lot of things, it's nearly too democratizing of work in that I can do a lot of stuff. And so I try to do too much. And so they're trying to give me an ebook on how to do like deep focus work. And so what this does, the game is pretty rudimentary, but I'm moving my little ball about it. And I have to, if you see, you can't really see these things, but they're like, take a Zoom call. They're all tasks that I would get disrupted by. And so the thing is, you try to keep your ball away for 15 seconds. And then when you've done that, you can download the ebook. There's like, a fun thing for marketers to turn every page into an interactive game. You were talking about gaming. And I think you can actually do that. Like you can actually have a landing page, which is like a fun little game. And at the fun little, if you go through the fun little game, you get your thing, your prize. And that prize is whatever that company is trying to market to you. And so that was like one of many things I did.
All right, if you want to build your own apps with Vibe Code, we've got you. We've compiled 10 prompts you can use to turn any business idea into a working app in just a few hours. This builds real lead generation tools that actually convert. Scan the QR code or click the link in the description. Now, let's get back to the show.
First of all, it took me a small amount of time, like one prompt for Gemini to come up with 3 good ideas. And you know how I came up with the ideas? It came up with ideas based upon your most interesting ideas that you've shared on YouTube shows. And so the other thing I would just tell the audience is the integration with YouTube, to me, is one of the most impactful things you have now as a marketeer. The Gemini integration to YouTube is amazing. And so it was able to go through and show me your top rated shows on YouTube. So it said, these are the shows you were on and got most engagement. And then it extracted some of the ideas you showed. And there was a podcast where you actually showed an interactive game. And then I said, apply Logan's best ideas to marketeers. And then it said, hey, you could turn landing pages into interactive games. And all I said was, show me. And then
awesome.
it did this. And I was like, that's 10 minutes of work. It took me
That's
10
awesome.
minutes. Insane.
Yeah, there's something interesting too about like the value of this is literally right now. If you're like doing this type of marketing work and you're like trying to find like how do you drive conversion or like how do you sort of get people in an interesting way that they haven't seen before, like this is unique. Like no one else is doing this right now. I've seen zero of this so far. So I actually really like this idea as like a 2026 holiday campaign.
The other thing I just want to quickly show, and then I want to just cut back to your UI remix that you're doing, is just following along that little app I built. I know this is a kind of more basic thing that Gemini 3 can do, which is like the landing page. But I just, again, wouldn't undersell how great this is for marketeers. Look how quickly I can basically build a business as well, by the way, right? Like I have an idea, which is this interactive landing page. It's a basically interactive game. And I said to it, like, here's some details about a theoretical company. Can you set up a landing page so I can start to sell this product? The landing page is amazing. The copy is really good. I didn't give it really any information on the copy, the structure, but look what it did down here. I didn't ask for this. It actually added like a little interactive game. Now it's pretty basic. I can make it do something better. But again, I just found the actual page and the details so good. So if you're a marketeer, you used to brief your design team on a landing page. You used to like brief them in language, right? You used to say, here's a Jira ticket. Here's some stuff I need. Every marketeer should be using Gemini 3 to like do a landing page, and then they can just easily send it to their designers and like, here's exactly what I want, right? So that language barrier that I think used to exist between teams and engineers and designers just doesn't exist anymore, because you can prototype with these tools to actually show what you want. And I think in companies, traditionally, the amount of cycles you spend because what's in your head is not what comes out the other end from the designers and engineers, none of that should ever happen anymore. None of it. And I just think the ability to code these landing pages is like incredible. Like it really is incredible how good it is.
I think what you just described is so profound. And this is the shift that's happening because of AI. And like marketing is a great example of this. The bit is basically the same, which is like historically product managers would describe the product that they wanted in some like lossy way. And then you'd have a designer try to bring that to life. And then the engineers would try to maybe bring that to life. Now it's just you actually build the product. I mean, it's not the production ready version that's hooked up to all your infrastructure, but it's the product that you actually want to see.
It's like AI has moved us from English language to visual language, and that you can be much more visual in how you speak to people.
This was just the one-shot example of this, and it like redesigned and it added a bunch of suggestions. I'm curious what they are. I could click around. I wonder what happens. Oh, interesting.
Oh, you can create conversational voice apps.
Hey, how's it going? Actually, I don't even know if it's picking up my mic. Let's see. And this is a great example. This is the beauty of vibe coding. And all I have to do now is say, hey, the live voice part didn't work. Please fix. Thank you.
This is in the demo it built that you're asking it this question?
Let's see if we can make it. I'm curious if this actually works.
Oh my God, this is insane.
Cute dog.
Actually built whole new functionality.
And we'll see. It's supposed to have added a bunch of new AI features, and it looks like it just took like it added Nano Banana and it added this live API experience. But I actually think these experiences are so representative of like where the state of vibe coding is. And like I always
vibe coding.
Yeah, I love to keep stuff like this in because I think it just like makes you realize like you probably will ask for something and then like you kind of won't know if it's working and you'll have to test it out and see. But I think the thing that makes this so powerful is that the next step is just like, hey, this thing doesn't work. I want it to work, fix it. And then it goes and fixes it, which is the exciting part.
Just to be clear, for people watching, pre-built AI Studio, it added some features. I know from building apps with Google Build over the last week, you probably can fix those things within a couple of minutes. But I don't think we should get away from the fact that you asked it to rebuild an image of an incredible app, which is AI Studio, and it just built it all. I think that's pretty insane. This is how I do things with Flow. So I'm building videos in Flow via VO3. The big unlock for me was actually I used to go text to video, and now I go like text to image to video. So I go text to Nano Banana to video. And so this here would be pretty cool app, actually. Just dropping in the images and you can just like automate them or animate them through Veo 3. That's a pretty cool feature.
Yeah. And we have one other thing which has been super helpful, which is this annotate app feature. So you can go in and do things like, this text is a bit meh. Make it better.
I didn't know you could do this.
Yeah, it's awesome. And then you just add this in, add to chat, and then you can, we're working on this right now to be able to like queue up messages while something else is going. So it won't let me run this because I'm fixing the live API integration, and then it literally has the screenshot and all the details and it can just kick this off. So it makes this like visual editing process actually really fast, which is a ton of fun.
That is so cool.
Yeah. One other thing, your landing page example, I just want to show a couple of these like that blow my mind of how good some of the examples are. So this is like following my cursor right now. And as I scroll through, like, again, this was a one-shot landing page that somebody in our team made, but like a very interactive experience. It is kind of heavyweight. Like it's not easy to make this happen, but just like so much subtle, like as you hover over it, the word view shows up on these things. So like so much interesting detail of putting this landing page together and like,
so cool.
Yeah, so cool. Like it's literally,
cool.
This is like a prompt away from anyone, which I think is the really, really exciting part.
Yeah. And everything can be different, right? Like for a long time now, the web is like you go to a party, you feel like you've done a really good job of purchasing your outfit and you turn up and everyone's in the same outfit or different versions of the same outfit, right? Like that is the internet because it's all been templatized. And I think AI now allows you to really be creative and you can rethink the web page, right? I think how software is going to be rethought completely in terms of how we use it, but actually you can really rethink even web pages and have these fun little things. Like an idea for you all, and I won't give the exact name because you'll be able to find them, but there's like these huge sites that get a ton of traffic online and they are, you kind of template galleries, right? They have a ton of like templatized assets that the entire web uses. And like, I feel like Google should just like own some of those. And then when you're going to like pick your template landing page, you can choose that, or you can just build it via prompt with Google Gemini. That's a great way to start to onboard people onto just building all those things uniquely instead of using the template through Gemini, right? And if you own those, you own kind of the places that people are going to do that today. Because I just don't think there's a world where you should have to use the same template as everyone else when you can kind of build something from scratch and really make it much more unique and creative.
I agree. And I actually, as somebody who is traditionally trained as a software engineer and has actually gone and like bought a bunch of those templates before for like random websites, ideas that I was working on myself, actually a lot of them are like exceptionally complicated. Like you get this thing and like, it's actually not easy to just, even as an engineer, to just like take it, rip out a bunch of things. It's like hours and hours to replace all the assets and change the text and make the colors customized. And like, if you really want it to be your own, it's a lot of work. And I'm doing this example right now. And I took the existing landing page and I said, change the color palette to match HubSpot's design. And we'll see if it gets the details right on this, which it probably won't. But like literally it's just a prompt now to sort of customize this and you can sort of change all the detail and make it your own. And I feel probably for me, it was like 100x faster to do this than it was to like buy one of the existing templates and then refactor it.
I also am from a computer science background. I was a software engineer, not a very good one. That's kind of why I'm in marketing, if I'm being honest. But now I'm a great one, right? Because I was always pretty good on creativity and ideas and like understanding how to build things, but I couldn't build them. Yeah. And I actually have so many different experiences of actually what you described, like building websites, trying to get templates and just trying to customize the template and not doing a very good job. Whereas now I can't even really put into words how different it is. Like the fact that landing page I showed and the one you showed, I would think it would have taken a month like of trying to customize a template. And I don't think I could have done half this. I could never have done like half the stuff that the template is even doing. So just the power you have in your hands with these models, I think the general world has not appreciated just like how much of an unlock it is for ideas. Like it's, Kip always says, it's a bazooka for the creative mind. And I think that's one of the best descriptions for AI.
I love that. Yeah. I also think it's special too that these role profiles are sort of evolving in such an interesting way. Like now the marketer is the developer, is the designer.
Yeah.
And if you have the interests, like you can flex across so many different things, which I think historically the sort of mandate was the way that you would create value in the world was by like deeply specializing in some specific area. And now it's like, take that expertise that you have and sort of apply it across the spectrum, which is really, really exciting. And yeah, I enjoy it because I want to build cool stuff.
It's done it, is it? Oh, it has actually, yeah.
Does this look like the HubSpot
Yeah, it
design
does,
language?
Yeah, it's got our little orange and everything. And the fact that you didn't upload a style guide, you just said, it just took that from the web, right?
Yeah, I mean, in this context, I think it probably just like kind of HubSpot's in pre-training, so it probably knows like HubSpot's orange and stuff like that. Versus you would in some cases right now, if you're like random business, you want to ground this in like providing some assets of like, here's what our style guide looks like. But yeah, it looks good. I actually like this design more.
Yeah, I like the kind of font effects that it's had and things like that. The other one I just want to quickly show for people watching to show the power of this is the ability to do things like in the canvas. And so if you are a worker today, and I'm going to focus on marketers, but this is agnostic of marketers, you can build everything you want as an internal app via Google in Canvas if you want. You don't even have to build it as an app. So what do I mean by that, right? So today you have to like use whatever kind of software your company is using. And I think what's going to happen actually is people have had to kind of use things in the same way as everyone else because you have to have software that has like one-to-many users. But everyone actually has quirks and nuances and would like to use things in special ways. And now those folks can kind of just build things internally. They're the only ones using them, right? And so I'll give you a couple of quick examples that I've shown in Gemini 3 and Canvas. And so Canvas is basically, you can switch it on as a tool and it builds these kind of interactive things for you. And so this one is a really simplistic one where I give Gemini 3 this is synthetic data, but basically it's like synthetic data that would basically be your sales calls. It created like fake sales calls, support conversations, like internal information you would have about your buyer. And then really how you do great marketing and really being a great business is really tailoring everything to who your ideal customer profile is. But that ideal customer profile is usually like somewhere in a deck, right? And never gets updated and kind of gets forgotten about because it's like hidden away. And so I had Gemini 3 create an interactive like customer profile, a little interactive app. And so it actually did a pretty good job. These are not specifically HubSpot, but it obviously used some inspiration from us. It's based on synthetic data. But basically what this has is it has like 4 customer profiles that we were targeting. It has a scrappy scaler, it gives you the employee size, gives you the ecosystem switcher, the overwhelmed solopreneur, and the enterprise power user. So like these are theoretical customers that someone is targeting. And then it basically tells me what is their primary risk, right? The scrappy scaler is a high price and sensitivity based upon all the conversations we've captured on that person, all the support conversations. It tells me a little bit about them, their key motivations, their key pain points. I love this. It builds out the customer journey map. So when they're trying to buy our product, what are they trying to figure out at each stage of that journey? Because then I can optimize it for those folks. And then it has like voice of a customer. So it actually pulls out real quotes from that synthetic data I give it. And then I can switch to like the overwhelmed solopreneur and it changes it down here. And so I get like a different set of motivations, pain points, primary risk. I get a different customer journey. I extract those from the voice of the customer and a little bit of a strategic opportunity. But here's like the value, right? So I can just create this. I can share this with the rest of the org. But anytime I get new information, I can just upload it here and say upload the personas. And so they're always in sync with my latest internal information. And now the entire company can just see it in a really visual way and make sure they understand who we're marketing to. Now, what I actually do is I basically ask it to export this into a 2-pager. And then anytime I'm using AI, I upload it as a doc and say, tailor this thing to this 2-pager. So you make sure that all of the output is tailored. But prior to AI and prior to like Gemini and Canvas being able to do this was just like hidden away in decks, right? Like this was not possible. There's no software that does this.
Yeah, it is super cool. And I think the magic is, we were looking at AI Studio before, and now you're showing the Gemini app Canvas. The magic for the Gemini app Canvas is it's like so accessible to so many people. Like the Gemini app has like 650 million users or something like that. And you can just go in and be like, make me this thing. And it does like a pretty solid job at bringing that thing to life. There's another angle of this too, which is, and I think this is actually doing a good job of this, which is this like data visualization. Our growth, the woman who does our growth marketing usually sends out these like historically had been like pretty boring, basically like CSV data outputs of like the results of our emails. And she started vibe coding this experience now where she can actually just drop in the CSV and it'll like populate this like world visualization over time of like the emails being sent, kind of like Shopify does for their Black Friday, where they're like showing the like pings all over the world for email.
Okay.
Like literally in a single prompt was able to do that now. And then it just like, it also updates based, like if there's some like random new fields or whatever, it just like redynamically takes in the input based on what it is.
I can just upload the CSV and then I can unplot the email performance in a globe per country.
Over time too is interesting. Yeah, it's so cool.
So this is the other use case that if you're going to just do a couple of things from this show, being able to just upload data and visualize it in any way you want is just, again, an incredible superpower. So what this here is doing, again, based upon synthetic data, it's just taking a business's marketing campaigns from a quarter and uploading them and then showing you a bunch of things like their spend, the total revenue, your blend. I just cannot overemphasize how incredible being able to customize this stuff is for a marketeer. Your blended CAC, your total conversions, but look what it's doing here. So what I asked it to do is like every quarter, what a marketer will do is they'll say, okay, well, I have a quarterly budget. I need to assess what's going well, what's not going well, and where should I redistribute capital? And this is doing it for me. So it basically says, okay, here's how we're going to redistribute capital in the upcoming quarter based upon what is the best return on investment. So it looks at the LTV to CAC per channel. And then it says, okay, like increase enterprise search, increase mid-market search, and then decrease these things. And then it gives me what's working. It gives me the kind of patterns and recollection. And then it gives me a segment kind of breakdown for Q3. And again, this is all just from a CSV upload. And it's incredible.
It is incredible.
But the fact it can really make strategic recommendations now, which is kind of like scary in some ways, but like you can move very fast if you kind of unlock this for your team.
Yeah. I'll show one other really, really similar example to this, but it sort of has like one interesting flavor of difference, which is like this data visualization, I think is one of the most impactful things. Like instead of making a, chart in a slideshow, like a slide deck to like present to other people. This was an example of, I took the Gemini 3 eval result page, which was like not interesting to look at and was like actually really ugly, unfortunately. And I asked Gemini 3 to actually turn this into an interactive visualization. And the fun thing is like, I can actually answer questions now, different questions in real time. Like we go into these reviews inside of Google and people are like, oh, it's great. We have these different models, but like actually what I really care about as a leader is I just want to see Gemini 3 versus 2.5 Pro. And you can now sort of do that in real time and see all the differences. You can actually like change like, hey, as we toggle some of these knobs, how does this impact what model shows up first? There's like a chatbot at the end to ask questions about the raw data itself. So interesting and powerful to like see data brought to life in really, really different and new ways. And like, again, this was not some like sophisticated prompt. This was, I literally took a picture of a table of data and said, turn this into an interactive visualization so that I can answer questions more deeply about this data that I'm looking at. And it just works, which is crazy. So I think there was historically this narrative of like, you had to be sort of like a prompt wizard in order to sort of get the most out of the models. Today, just ask what you want the model to do in plain English and like it should be able to do it, which is really cool.
I'm glad you touched on that. I actually just want to make sure people listening really understand that point. There was a time where I felt my ability to prompt, and I'm not like in any way like you're prompt engineers or anything like that, but for someone who works in go-to-market and is working with AI, I felt I had like some leverage because I really was in the weeds, learning how to prompt, learning how to craft prompts. And for a long time, all I did was share prompts on the show and people just wanted prompts from me. And now I just think, I don't know that I do anymore because I just ask Gemini 3 to like either craft a prompt or just do something and it just does it. It just interprets what I want so much better. You see that that's a notable change in Gemini 3.
100%. Yeah. And there is like the frontier of where, having a really differentiated perspective on prompting, I think still exists. But I think with every model that comes out, the smarter the models are, the more intuitive they are. It sort of like flexes in a different way. So I think people are now like figuring out like, where is the alpha as far as, what you can tell the model that will get it to do things. I think one of the pieces of alpha is what we talked about before that I promised I would keep reiterating, which is ask the model to do more. The model is like basically pent up with all of this creative capability. It just needs you to like tell it to go and do stuff and like do more than you would have expected it to historically have done. So I think that's actually the most alpha right now, is just like ask for more stuff and you'll get more. And like, even if, 40% of it is garbage, like the 60% of like net new incremental stuff that you wouldn't have thought about can oftentimes be really helpful.
Yeah. Yeah. It comes back to the curious mind. Could we end, Logan, on anything you could just show? Like Nano Banana Pro is just, I don't want to be one of those, influencers, insane, mind blowing, blah, 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 like get the YouTube clicks, but it is insane and it is mind blowing. And could you just maybe end on showing a little bit about that with that model of that app?
Yeah, let's do this. So again, we're in AI Studio. There's a couple of things at a high level to think about for Nano Banana. So one of them is, this is the first time that we've been able to sort of combine grounded world knowledge with an image model together, which I think unlocks a bunch of really interesting stuff. So that's what we're going to look at here, which is basically Google search plus the power of generating images. And I'm going to say, show me the bull thesis for why in-person home marketing is a good idea for HubSpot. I'll just pick on HubSpot. And we'll kick this off. And what it's going to do is generate a diagram and an infographic, pulling in real world knowledge using Google search about HubSpot, about sort of like business trends, all this stuff. Again, this is a vibe coded app that we're looking at here in AI Studio. You could fork this and build your own version of it if you want, or just use it out of the box. And then it's going to take all that information and synthesize it into Nano Banana. And again, the cool thing is we'll see the fidelity of text generation, which is one of the big leaps for this model, is not only its world knowledge and its understanding and its ability to access tools and reason, but actually also like rendering text coherently.
It's incredible. Yeah.
Is so difficult. And this model crushes it. So I'm excited to see this example. And I love this UI as a sort of a gimmicky UI.
Yeah. So first of all, this app is awesome. I'm using Nano Banana at the moment to create characters that I'm doing, and a sitcom that I'm using VO3 to create. And it's like, I assume like every filmmaker is going to be using this model because its character definition, its ability to create scenes. The other thing you can do is like you can mix and match images. So I created like two characters, I created neutral backgrounds, and then I created a scene, a setting, and you can like ask it to combine those reference images into another new image. And so it also feels like just a huge step up in terms of capabilities. Do you see Nano Banana Pro becoming much more intertwined into like filmmaking, things like that, because of just how good that is, like how much it can actually accelerate the process of doing things like that?
Yeah, it is a good question. You see this for filmmakers on sort of both ends of the spectrum. I think on one hand, there's sort of like, what does this enable for like existing professionals? And I do think like giving them sort of scaffolding to bring their ideas to life in ways that were expensive before, I think is super exciting. And then feeding that to VO is a flow that I think we're seeing a lot of success with. I think the magic and the thing that gets me most excited as sort of not a professional in that field is like raising the floor for everyone to be able to create stuff. And I think there's a similar story actually with like YouTube as an example, and how YouTube enabled everyone to sort of become a creative storyteller, and all the sort of generational talent that has been discovered and created through that. I think we're going to see that potentially with filmmaking and sort of some of these other categories like coding, et cetera, just because the AI capability keeps leveling everyone up and making it so that this stuff is possible, which is so exciting.
I was never really a gamer. I think I could be a gamer in another life because I just have a personality that gets like really obsessed by things. But I think this is my version of gaming. I was up last night and I was like going like Nano Banana to VO3, Nano Banana, and it's like doing something, I can't explain it. It's like I could never even imagine creating like video, creating a little show that I can show my friends, or creating like a world-class ad, right? Like being able to just like create a video ad. And so it's kind of like addictive because it allows people to do things that, as you said, level up, things that you would never have been able to do in the past or had even thought of. I never thought that I would be able to create video in that way.
Yeah, 100%. I'm trying to get an example that's actually working. It's just taking a long ass time to do this research, which this better be the most impressive research task ever, because all of a sudden, as soon as I said that, it started working. As soon as I threatened verbally that I was going to, go report this. It is done now, which I didn't even do anything that impressive, which is interesting that it took so long. Show me the bull thesis for why in-person home marketing is a good idea for HubSpot. Let's see. The field, in-person data capture, the bridge, automated nurturing sequence, the offense. I'm unimpressed. I'll ask the model in a more generic way, but I'd love to see your use case.
Yeah, let's see if I can do this one here. All right, so this may or may not work. And so basically what I did was I had a Gemini 3 critique the above the fold of our homepage and then basically give a bunch of feedback. And so what I was going to try to do is see if Nano Banana can actually apply that to our homepage. And so again, in this way, what a marketer would have to do in the past is like get designers to do iterations and see how it looked and things like that. Whereas now I think Nano Banana can actually just apply those changes to the model. And so if you're a marketer, you can create like many variations of a page and start to get feedback pretty rapidly without the need of a designer. I will say that I did not make it easy. I give it a pretty large amount of changes to make. So you can see here a lot of critiques of that page. I asked it basically to make it more appealing to sales because at the moment it's a little generic. And so look at this. So it actually does recraft it above. So like basically I give it a persona, a sales leader, and it recrafted it pretty well actually for the sales leader. The sales engine built for scaling teams, move beyond spreadsheets and rigid enterprise tools, get the visibility of VP needs and the usability your reps will love. It's pretty good. The ability to just quickly remix images is really interesting. Like you can critique things and remix. And again, I will say that I didn't even remix this. I didn't even ask it to make these changes just to make sure people understand. I give it an image and it critiqued the image itself and then applied the changes through Nano Banana.
I love it. I think it opens up this idea of like image space being something that anyone can manipulate. And I think historically you'd have to be a designer or like have one of these professional tools in order to have image space be where you iterate. So now it's like text space, code space, and like pixel space are these like 3 degrees of modality and freedom that you have. Just to close the loop on this example, I just took this and sent it raw to the model. I actually don't know what was happening in that app. The UI was cool, but I'll have to debug what the system prompt is. And I said, make me an infographic for why out-of-home ads are good for HubSpot. I turned on grounding with Google search. I popped this open. This is exactly what I want, which is like really dense, rich text, sort of telling this product story. This is almost a little like too much text. So I think I could do the iteration to sort of pare it back, add more data, maybe for like different markets, like targeting different segments and stuff like that. But I think this gets to the point of like what is powerful. Literally with a single prompt, you can just ask for the information in an infographic or some other format. And the model does a really, really good job of like pulling in that information.
Yeah, this is all text within an image. 6 months ago, this would all have been wrong. like the change here should not be understated how incredible this is.
Yeah. And it's like pixel perfect. There are mistakes every once in a while for sure, just because that's how the technology works. But it does a really good job in general of like not making weird errors. So it is like almost production ready, just out of the box, which is cool.
So cool. Yeah. Logan, I would probably end up keeping you on the show for hours and hours and hours. So I better let you go because you've been really gracious with your time. Again, huge congrats to you. Huge congrats to the team at Google. This is an incredible set of tools for everyone who is listening and been working and trying to integrate into how we actually do work. And I think we've given a ton of cool use cases that you can go and start using straight after you listen to this show.
Yeah, this is a ton of fun. My sort of quick ask is, as folks build with Gemini, if you have feedback or things you need or like whatever it is, like we want to make this model sort of like the most usable model in the world for folks across every discipline. So please send us feedback. My email's online. I'm all over the internet. The comment section of this episode, like send us the feedback. We want to make the product better. We want to make the models better. And this was a ton of fun. Thanks for spending time jamming. And hopefully folks had some good ideas from this stuff.
Cool. Thanks, everyone.
This data is wrong every freaking time.
Have you heard of HubSpot? HubSpot is a CRM platform where everything is fully integrated.
Whoa, I can see the client's whole history, calls, support tickets, emails, and here's a task from 3 days ago I totally missed.
HubSpot. Grow better.